Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and oh boy, does this look like leak central for this week. Yesterday we talked about the leaks we would expect with the Apple Watch Series 6 and watchOS 7, and today we have a lot of leaks and details about Apple's upcoming software, iOS 14, including the possibility of a revamped home screen. Now again, just like yesterday, a majority of these leaks and reports are coming out of 9to5Mac. They have been doing a great job going through iOS 14 code, but today we actually have two sources for these leaks and rumors, and these are coming out of 9to5Mac and Mac Rumors. So if you want to read the articles where I got all this information from, I will leave links down in the description below. And I'm sure this isn't the end of the Apple leaks or news about upcoming Apple products, so if you want to stay in the loop, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you want to connect more with me, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Now, I know a lot of people like to save the exciting leaks for last, but I'm actually going to give it to you in this video first, and that is the possibility of a revamped home screen on iOS 14. Listen, everyone knows what the iOS home screen looks like and works like. It's been practically unchanged in how it looks and works since the first version of iOS. And year after year, iOS version after iOS version, one of the most requested changes is a revamp to this home screen experience, and it looks like we might be getting that with iOS 14. This particular leak comes out of 9to5Mac, who has been parsing through iOS 14's code, and they are saying that iOS 14 will include a new list view for the home screen. This list view will include a list of all application icons, making it easier for users to see all of their installed apps at once. 9to5Mac goes on to say that this list view will contain several different sorting options, so you could filter applications based on things like unread notifications, recently used applications, and I would assume categories of apps as well, and alphabetical listings. This sounds pretty similar to the alternate home screen option for the Apple Watch, where you can view all of your apps in a list view, but with this iOS 14 leak, it sounds like you will be getting a lot more customization. Furthermore, 9to5Mac goes on to report that these list views will also include smart suggestions powered by Siri to suggest which application you might be searching for based on time of day and location. So for example, if you were going to Starbucks and you had the Starbucks app, maybe iOS would suggest opening the Starbucks app. 9to5Mac says if you were going to something like the gym, it might suggest to open up the music app. This seems like a natural progression of what Apple already does with Siri suggestions whenever you enter into the search field or whenever you see notifications on your lock screen. Apple already surfaces some of these Siri suggestions with suggested apps or suggested actions. But these rumors sounds like Apple will be giving you even more flexibility to your home screen experience if you want to see it in either a grid view or a list view, and it sounds like Apple will be integrating Siri suggestions right into the home screen. Furthermore, 9to5Mac goes on to say that we will be getting even more options for the wallpaper section in the settings in iOS. This comes in the form of categories for wallpapers. 9to5Mac is reporting that we will soon see categories in the wallpaper section like Earth and Moon or Flowers to offer better organization. Furthermore, they are saying that Apple will allow third parties to make their own wallpaper collections and integrate them right into the iOS settings app. Now, aside from better categorization of wallpapers, this also sounds to me like Apple will be including a way to dynamically change your wallpaper based on certain things. So for example, right now on the Apple Watch, you can set a watch face that will cycle through a album of photos. We might see the same thing applied in iOS 14, so that every time you unlock your phone, you might be greeted by a different wallpaper of your choice. We could also see this apply to something like macOS Mojave and macOS Catalina, where they have dynamic wallpapers that change throughout the day. So for example, if it's in the morning, you would see a wallpaper that takes place during that time of day, and as it shifts to night, that wallpaper would start to get darker and it would be replaced with a night scene of that wallpaper. Another leak that 9to5Mac found in the iOS 14 code is that Apple will be allowing users to submit shot on iPhone challenges in the Photos app. Now, moving right along with customization, Mac Rumors is also reporting that they found some indication in the iOS 14 code that Apple will be allowing third-party developers to change the voice of Siri. So we could see the possibility of maybe celebrity voiceovers, something similar to what the Google Assistant and the Amazon Echo already do, or we could just see other voices pop up that would be more to your personalization with a voice assistant. Okay, and our next bit of leaks come out of 9to5Mac, and these have to do with HomeKit changes. One of these iOS 14 leaks with HomeKit has to do with smart lighting, and this is being called night shift mode, and this would basically change the color temperature of your lighting throughout the day to match, I guess, what the color temperature is outside, or just to change the ambient lighting to be more comfortable depending on what time of day it is. The next change has to do with HomeKit Secure Video, which actually recently just rolled out, and this change would enable face detection, so you could set people in the app and then receive notifications when it sees a certain face, or if it doesn't recognize the face, it could also send you a relevant notification. And the last HomeKit change has to do with the HomePod, and this would be an easier way to make the HomePods your default speaker on an Apple TV. I'm actually really excited for this change because I actually have quite a few HomePods. There's actually one right behind me back there, and I really want to use HomePods in more situations right now, and I do have Apple TV, so I would definitely consider hooking them up as my TV speakers if they're good. But I would really like to see this change also applied to desktop speakers. I think that would be the best way to use this HomePod setup. You could configure them wirelessly and then hook them up to your desktop and have the default sound play through your Mac. That would be a really, really big welcome change, so hopefully Apple does something like that. Okay, moving on, we are also expecting to see some more accessibility changes in iOS 14. 9to5Mac is reporting that iOS 14 will be able to detect sounds like fire alarms, sirens, door knocks, doorbells, and even a crying baby. They theorize that Apple might take these sort of sounds and then translate that into some sort of haptic feedback to help users with impaired hearing. And they're also considering adding hand gestures that would be detected by the iPhone camera. Now, depending on who you are, these accessibility features might not sound all that exciting, but for any user who needs these sort of features, this is a huge welcome change, and I always like to see Apple adding to more areas of accessibility so more users can enjoy their products. Okay, our next leak comes courtesy of Mac Rumors, and this has to do with changes to the Messages app. Mac Rumors is saying that there will be new Messages features in the works for iOS 14. The first change will be the addition of mentions. So for example, this would mean that you would use the @ symbol to tag someone. So for example, if you were in a group message and you were trying to get attention of me, you would type in @Greg. And within that group message, you would be able to customize notifications. So instead of receiving notifications for every message that is sent in that group thread, you could have it only send you notifications when someone @s you. I know I have a group chat currently right now where people are just messaging back and forth constantly, and it is so hard to catch up, and sometimes I just have to mute the notifications from that group thread, so it would be really helpful when someone does need to urgently contact me that they could just type @Greg, and then I can receive that notification while not getting my phone just flood it with notifications. Yes, I am looking at you, Anthony. Can you just stop with all the messages in the group chat? It's getting to be a little bit much. Apple is also considering letting users retract iMessages after sending them. And lastly, Apple is also working on bringing over the iPad version of the Messages app over to the Mac with their Project Catalyst. And honestly, this would be great because the current Messages version on Mac is lagging behind on a few features. Okay, and one last rumor before we close out this video, and that has to do with augmented reality. 9to5Mac is reporting that Apple is developing a new app to work on iOS 14 that is codenamed Gobi. 9to5Mac says that Apple appears to be testing integrations with Apple stores and Starbucks. And they go on to say that, for example, in an Apple store, you would be able to hold up your iPhone and then get even more information and details about a specific product. This one is interesting because we have been talking about Apple's efforts with augmented reality for quite some time on this channel. It's one of the areas where I'm most excited to see what Apple does in the future. And we are expecting some sort of Apple AR headset or Apple AR glasses to be coming out within the next few years. And if augmented reality is going to be a mainstream technology, if it's really going to take off, Apple is going to have to develop a lot of AR applications and kind of lead the way on this front. There are obviously third-party AR applications that are already out, but I don't think they do a good enough job showcasing just how useful augmented reality can be. So Apple developing these products that might show even more information in the real world would be really cool, but I really think that this kind of stuff would need dedicated hardware like an AR headset to truly make it a great experience, because obviously you don't want to be holding up your iPhone or your iPad and your arms get tired. So Apple really needs to develop these apps, but then in the long term, they really need to get a hardware product that can make a platform where these AR applications make sense. But anyway, hopefully you learned something new from this video. If you did, make sure you leave me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, well, make sure you're subscribed. Also, be sure to let me know what your favorite leak or rumor about iOS 14 you are most excited for. And if you want to help the channel out in any way, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. And if you want to connect more with me, make sure you follow me on Twitter. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.